Hey YouTube. I haven't made a video in a while and I've kind of just been wanting to get back into it with updates and filming some other videos. Um, but I figured I would take this opportunity of social distancing to work on that because something I've discovered is YouTube videos are a lot of work to make, edit, and post. I just thought this would be a good opportunity to update everyone on what's going on and then share some pretty exciting news. I finished chemo in August, and then in October, I got my follow up PET scan from that, and it showed that there was still an active rim of um, cancer on the primary tumor on my chest, and it was about 5 centimeters long by about a centimeter thick. This was pretty devastating news just because in that time span, I had moved back to Lakeview into my duplex. My employer was being so understanding and accommodating to my situation, and they were going above and beyond and finding different roles for me as a nurse, pretty much anything outside of full 12-hour shifts. And so that was just really exciting. And just, I felt like I was kind of getting back to my life. And so hearing that I still had cancer and I was going to have to go through more treatment was just really devastating. So I got that news a little bit before going to Cancun with Miles. Um, so I was able to still go to Cancun like the following week, I want to say, and we got engaged. So that was so exciting. Um, and when we got back, we met with the radiation oncologist, and he basically said a really reputable study is showing that patients with PMBCL who have gone through our epoch, it's really common to show a false positive on the first follow-up PET scan, and that the latest recommendations are waiting and rescanning. So that's what we did 6 weeks after my first scan. So second week of November, got another scan, and the tumor had grown a little bit. I don't think very substantially. I don't even know that it necessarily grew, but the cells were just more active, more metabolic, taking up more energy, basically. Um, so at that point, my oncologist and radiation oncologist highly suggested that radiation was the best route. And it was a really hard decision, just kind of knowing, like, is this the best thing? Should we go to a specialist in Seattle, get another opinion, which would have taken a lot of resources for our family. And just after talking to the radiation oncologist, and I feel like, it's someone I trusted, and he gave a pretty candid opinion on that of proton therapy is what it's called, and the likelihood of that being less risky, having less long-term side effects. It was a minuscule amount. And so considering all the resources, time, and finances that would have taken up, like, was it really worth it? And we kind of decided no. So basically with the radiation that I did, they used a method called IMRT, which was developed by MD Anderson, I want to say. And my radiation oncologist was very well versed and trained in that. And it was a method to pinpoint tumors without compromising other high real estate organs such as your heart and lungs, brain. It's used on facial tumors a lot, head and neck. So that looked like they gave me 4 tattoos, one here, and then one on each side. And then they made a mask mold, and then they made a body mold. So each time I laid down on the table, I was on top of the body mold, and then the face mold would go over me to basically pin me to the table to reduce movement. And then they would line up all the tattoos with the stationary lasers on the ceiling to make sure they were hitting the same spot each time. And each time they delivered the radiation, they also did basically a low-grade CT to make sure they were in the right spot. So a lot of measures were taken. Still, over time, the radiation kind of moves outward towards the heart and breasts. So I'm still at a higher risk for heart disease and breast cancer, but, like one of my doctors told me, who knows where we'll be with research and treatment in 20 years when this is maybe going to be a higher risk to me. And then we know that I'm a risk, and so I'll just have more screenings done earlier, sooner, more often. But it is still a big decision, and it's life altering. So from middle of December to middle of January, I went in for 20 sessions, Monday through Friday, one a day, for 4.5 weeks. So I did that through the holidays, and then so I finished January 15th, and a follow-up PET scan is then conducted 12 weeks after treatment, which will be April 16th. So basically, I'm just in this limbo period again. And at this point, it didn't make sense for me to keep my place in Lakeview, just because I didn't want to go back to work without knowing I was in remission. And I'm also, up until recently, battling really low white blood cell counts, and I don't want to be in a hospital setting with that going on. So January, end of January, we went down to Lakeview, moved me out of my place, put majority of my stuff in storage. I brought some back to Portland here, but now I'm living full-time in Portland. And I really don't have a whole lot of plans other than getting married in October. I don't know when I'm going to return back to work. I don't know when I'm going to move out of my parents' house. First step is remission. Miles and I have talked about some options as far as timing goes, and when and where and how we're going to move, where we'll work. So we'll just kind of take that, day by day. And first thing is remission, and then next thing is marriage. So, how the old saying goes. Beginning of February, I've just been living at home, navigating a long-distance relationship with Miles. He's 5 hours away. Since August, basically, I have not been able to build back my white blood cells, which is unusual because even through chemo, I was able to recover eventually before starting another cycle. And so the fact that I'm getting months and months out of chemo treatment, and I'm still just kind of hanging out between 1 to 2.5 white blood cells, and 4 to 10 is normal. It was concerning, and I could always tell when my white cells were getting pretty low, just because it makes me feel pretty much like flu-like, achy, headachy, tired. And so in November, I went through a course of an immune booster, and then February, I went through a course. And so it was about a month ago that I went through the course. So at this point, my cells are kind of reflective of what they truly are, rather than it reflecting the immune booster. So my last white count was 3.5, which is the highest it's been. The previous one to that was 2.8, I want to say, so pretty low. So 3.5 is the highest it's been independently, which is super encouraging, and I feel like I'm finally gonna be getting some normalcy on my labs. Anyway, thanks for all of your support and prayers, and I'll check in again soon.